You're tired all the time. You're dizzy. You feel weak. You have no appetite. And you think it's just age, just your conditions getting worse, just decline. But what if it's not? What if the thing making you sick isn't your disease? What if it's your medicine? Ibn Arabi watched people decline not from their illnesses but from their treatments. He saw the pattern. The more remedies they took, the more symptoms they developed. And the cycle never ended. It only got worse. And he recognized something that modern medicine is finally beginning to acknowledge. Sometimes the treatment is more dangerous than the disease. Sometimes the pills meant to help you are actually destroying you. And if you're taking multiple medications, this might be happening to you right now. Let me paint a picture. You're 65. You have high blood pressure. Your doctor prescribes a medication. It works. Your blood pressure comes down. But now you're dizzy when you stand. So you go back, and the doctor prescribes something for dizziness. But that makes you constipated. So you get a laxative. But that upsets your stomach. So you get something for acid reflux. But that interferes with your calcium absorption. So your bones weaken. So you get a medication for osteoporosis. But that causes muscle pain. So you get a pain reliever. But that affects your kidneys. So you need medication to protect your kidneys. And now you're taking 8 pills for one initial problem, and you feel worse than when you started. This is called the prescribing cascade, and it's one of the most dangerous patterns in medicine for older adults. Ibn Arabi observed this centuries ago, not with modern pharmaceuticals, but with the treatments of his time, herbs, tinctures, remedies. He watched people accumulate treatments, each addressing a symptom, but together, creating new problems, and no one stopped to ask, is the treatment itself making things worse? Here's what happens. You have multiple doctors, a cardiologist, an endocrinologist, a rheumatologist, maybe a neurologist, a primary care doctor, and each one sees you for their specialty. Your heart, your diabetes, your memory, and each one prescribes, but none of them knows everything you're taking. They ask, but you forget to mention the over-the-counter medications, the supplements, the pills your other doctors prescribed, and even if you list everything, they're not thinking about interactions. They're thinking about their specialty, their problem, their solution. And the drugs interact. One makes another less effective. One amplifies the side effects of another. One blocks the absorption of another. And suddenly you're experiencing symptoms that have nothing to do with your original conditions. You're falling more. You're depressed. Your kidneys are declining. Your liver is struggling. But no one connects it to the medications. They treat each symptom as a new problem and prescribe more. Ibn Arabi called this treating shadows, where you're no longer addressing the actual disease but chasing symptoms created by the treatments themselves. And the more you chase, the more shadows appear, until you can't tell anymore what's real and what's disease and what's drug-induced. And here's the tragedy. Many of the symptoms seniors attribute to aging are actually medication side effects. The fatigue, the dizziness, the confusion, the falls, the digestive problems, the sleep issues. These aren't always aged. Sometimes they're and when you remove or reduce the medications, the symptoms improve. Sometimes dramatically, but most people never find out, because no one suggests it. No one does a comprehensive medication review. No one asks, what if we stopped some of these? There's a term for this, polypharmacy. It means taking multiple medications, usually defined as 5 or more. And studies show that once you're on 5 medications, your risk of adverse events, drug interactions, not linearly, exponentially, because each new drug doesn't just add to the mix, it multiplies the potential for problems. Ibn Arabi understood multiplication effects. He observed that remedies didn't just sit in the body independently. They interacted, they changed each other, they created combinations that were more powerful and often more dangerous than any single substance. And the more you combined, the less predictable the outcome. Modern pharmacology has confirmed this. Drug interactions are complex, unpredictable, and often not fully understood until years after a drug is on the market. The clinical trials test drugs in isolation, on relatively healthy people, not on 75-year-olds taking 10 other medications. So when you're prescribed a new drug, the doctor is often guessing how it will interact with everything else you're taking, and hoping for the best. But hope isn't a strategy, and seniors are paying the price. Falls leading to fractures, liver damage, cognitive decline, hospitalizations, and often death, not from their diseases, but from their treatments. Here's what makes this worse. Older bodies process medications differently than younger bodies. Your liver doesn't metabolize drugs as efficiently. Your kidneys don't excrete them as effectively. So medications stay in your system longer, build up, reach toxic levels, and the standard dosing, determined from studies on younger people, becomes too much for your aging body. But the dose rarely gets adjusted. You get the same amount as someone half your age with twice the kidney function, and your body composition has changed. More fat. Drugs that are water-soluble reach higher concentrations. Drugs that are fat-soluble stay in your system longer. But again, the dosing often stays the same. Ibn Arabi observed that older people needed less food, less stimulation, less treatment, that the aging body required gentler approaches, smaller interventions, more careful observation. But modern medicine does the opposite. More tests, more prescriptions, and the elderly body can't handle it. So what do? How do you know if your medications are making you sicker? First, you count. How many medications are you taking? Include everything. Prescription, over-the-counter, supplements. If it's 5 or more, you're in the high-risk zone, and you need a comprehensive review. Second, you track. When did your symptoms start? Did the fatigue begin after you started a new medication? Did the dizziness coincide with a dose increase? Did the confusion appear after adding another drug? Make the timeline, see the connections. Because doctors often don't. They see you for 15 minutes every few months. They don't see the daily progression, but you do. Third, you question, do you actually need every medication you're taking? Some were started years ago for problems you no longer have. Some were preventive, meant to reduce future risk, but at what cost to your current quality of life? Some were prescribed during a crisis, but never stopped. And some are treating side effects of other drugs. You need to know which is which. And fourth, you ask for a medication review, not from one specialist, but from a pharmacist or a geriatrician who specializes in someone who will look at everything together, who understands drug interactions, who knows what's appropriate for your age, and who isn't just adding to the list but thoughtfully considering what can be removed. Because here's what Ibn Arabi observed. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes, stopping treatments improves health more than adding them. This goes against medical instinct. Doctors are trained to intervene, to prescribe, to do something, but with older patients, sometimes the most powerful intervention is subtraction, deprescribing carefully, systematically removing medications that are no longer needed or are causing more harm than benefit. And this can be dramatic. People who felt confused, tired, weak for years, who assumed it was just aging, suddenly feel clear, energetic, strong, not because they got a new treatment, but because they stopped unnecessary ones. Their body was no longer fighting a chemical burden. Their brain could think clearly, and they realized those weren't age symptoms, they were drug symptoms. But deprescribing is hard. It requires a skilled clinician, because some medications can't be stopped suddenly. Some need to be tapered, some create withdrawal. Some have been suppressing symptoms that will return if removed without an alternative plan. So this isn't about throwing away your pill bottles. This is about working with a knowledgeable professional who can guide you through the process safely. Ibn Arabi also emphasized something important: prevention. Once you're caught in the polypharmacy trap, getting out is difficult. Better to avoid it in the first place. And that means being cautious about every new prescription. Asking questions: do I really need this? What happens if I don't take it? What are the risks versus benefits? How long will I be on it? What symptoms should I watch for? Can we start with the lowest dose? Can we try non-drug approaches first? Because every pill you add makes it harder, creates more interactions, more side effects, more complexity. And once you're on something, doctors are reluctant to stop it. What if the problem comes back? What if something bad happens? So they leave you on it, and add more, and the cycle continues. And you have to be your own advocate, because the system isn't set up to protect you from this. Insurance incentivizes pills over time. A prescription takes 2 minutes. A conversation about lifestyle changes takes 20. Drug companies market aggressively. Doctors face malpractice fears if they don't treat every number, every risk factor, every potential problem. And seniors want solutions. They want to feel better, and pills promise that, even when they don't deliver. To question, to observe, not the lab numbers, not the theory, but how you actually feel, how you actually function, and if you feel worse on medications than you did before them. That's information, important information. That shouldn't be dismissed or ignored. Here's a simple test. Imagine someone offered you a treatment. They said it might lower your risk of a heart attack in 10 years, but it would make you dizzy, tired, confused, and weak right now, every day, for the rest of your life. Would you take it? Most people would say no, but that's exactly what's happening. Trading current quality of life for theoretical future benefit, and often, the math doesn't work out, especially for older adults who might not even live to see the future benefit. This isn't about rejecting all medicine. Some medications are life-saving, essential, transformative, but many aren't. Many are marginal, preventive, treating numbers rather than symptoms. And when you're taking 10 of them, when they're interacting in unknown ways, when they're creating their own cascade of problems, you have to ask, is this worth it? Ibn Arabi observed that the wise person knows when to treat and when to observe, when to intervene and when to allow. And with medications, especially multiple medications in older adults, less intervention is often wiser, less is often safer, and less often leads to better outcomes. Your medicines might be making you sicker, not all of them, maybe not even most of them, but some of them, and you deserve to know which. You deserve a comprehensive review. You deserve someone who will look at the whole picture, who will consider your age, your kidney function, your liver health, your actual quality of life, not just your lab values. And you deserve to feel good, to have energy, to think clearly, to be steady on your feet, not to spend your later years in a fog of drug-induced symptoms that everyone dismisses as aging, because sometimes it's not aging. Sometimes it's just too many pills, and that's fixable. Ibn Arabi's warning stands. The cure can become the disease. The treatment can become the problem. And with polypharmacy, with multiple medications interacting in complex ways in aging bodies, this is happening every day. Thousands of seniors who assume their symptoms are inevitable. They're not, and you deserve to find out if your medications are making you sicker. Because if they are, stopping them might be the most powerful treatment you've never tried.